Hello, Tommy.
Hello, darling. Oh my God, what a flappy morning. I feel like we both just came onto the Zoom in a big old flap and we're just sort of like just trying to work out how to get started. And I have
Yeah,
landed in a way where I've not slept. I have been flapping about all morning, and this could go one of two ways. Either I'll be hilariously unfiltered, or I'll completely crash halfway through. So it's going to be one of the two.
well, look, we are absolutely here for it all, and I think unfiltered but also crashing halfway through is sort of par for the course right now. And what are we doing here if not sitting in solidarity with everyone who's probably just in a big old flap
A big old
at the
flap.
moment? So, what have you been up to this morning?
Oh my God, just running around like a headless chicken trying to sort things out. It's I've been pulling ridiculous hours recently. I mean, it's going to get really boring if I keep talking about the same thing, but I'm just prepping for this festival and I've taken on loads and loads of work in my business, which is really, really overwhelming, and I'm just really tired.
Yeah, I mean, I am actually having quite a good day today, but I think it's because I have given up. I think in spiritual terms, we call that a surrender, right? I've had
Oh,
a, oh, right, like I've surrendered. I've just like, I was fighting and fighting and trying to kind of hold it all together and trying to maintain the facade, even though the cracks were numerous. And now I've just, well, I'm sat here looking at you in my Snorlax onesie. I'm dressed as a giant Pokemon, having cut my own hair with the kitchen scissors. I really have reached a point where I've just got no fucks left to give. Because I've been in this place where if I don't want to do it, I can't do it. And I've been so awful with myself about that. I've been piling on the pressure. I've been talking to myself in a way that is frankly vile. And I just got to the point where I was like, well, yeah, but just what if you just don't and see what happens?
that sounds wonderful, honestly.
Yes, I know you're not exactly in a position right now where you can just put it down and kind of walk away. And, in many regards, I same, there's still things that I need to do, but I'm really trying to tune into the what is it that I actually want to do. If there isn't any joy or enthusiasm for the stuff that I was doing, then maybe it's time to do different things. But it's also, I feel slightly insane. It's not an entirely fun place to be at, but here we are, everyone. Welcome.
You've got rather a lot going on, and didn't the doctor actually say you should be doing nothing?
Yeah, my wonderful new GP was like, if you were employed, I'd be signing you out. And you need a minimum of 2 weeks of not having to be productive, like as in you do not have to do anything, you do not have to open your inbox. And I sat there and hysterically laughed until she gave me sleeping pills. So-
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am a person that since the inception of my business has never gone a day without opening my emails. Absolutely no way. Every holiday I've been on, every sickness that I've had, I have replied to emails in all of that time. And that is not something that I'm proud of or something that I would tell anyone else to do, but
I think I used to be the same, but with the great giving up, I think my inbox is, I've got about 1,200 unread emails.
oh, I've got plenty of those as well, but it's lots of like
Yeah.
do you know who Timu keeps emailing me? And I actually responded the other day, and I think I said something like, um, "Thank you for your offer, Brianna, but I would actually rather die."
Somebody online today that I know posted about something happening, someone playing at Coachella, probably something I don't give a shit about, but they were like, I'd rather slide naked down a rusty razor blade with only my balls for brakes. And I was like, I'm keeping that one. I'm keeping that one. What are they emailing you for?
Influencer program, but constantly, and it's always the same person.
Because you're an influencer, darling.
Send me a load of old tat.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they'd send you that you would possibly get excited about.
They offer quite a lot of money. I think it was in the thousands, but it's like,
Really?
yeah, but if I do that, I might as well just like give up my whole business because I would have no integrity.
Well, yeah, there's that, because obviously they are one of the number one places for ripping off creators
Yeah.
exactly like you and like the people that you work with and collaborate with. Well, look, we're really right on track, right on time today, actually, because we decided last week that we would do a bit of our agony uncling, gay uncling, gunkling. I created a type form for people to submit their queries and their questions, and we did get a question that is such a good fit for a bigger, broader conversation that we want to have. We're absolutely making a whole episode about it. So buckle your seatbelts, because we are going to be talking about our businesses, what it's like being self-employed kind of out here in the world right now, what it was like then, what happened, what it's like now.
Oh my God, perfect. So it's literally the AA format.
Yeah, totally. If you need to hear more about that, you should go back and listen to the other episodes that we've already recorded.
Because I mean, it has been a journey.
It is a journey. It's all a journey, and we are all in it together. But yeah, you can go back, and this is episode 9.
Fucking hell, it's episode 9.
Episode 9. You can listen to our episodes in the Patreon and on YouTube. It's all completely free, but we do so appreciate your support. If you can chuck a couple of coins in the coffee pot via the Patreon, it does help it all keep going, especially because we've got Kev now behind the scenes, who needs about 2 days to edit.
Is it really 2 days?
He does spend rather a lot of time huddled in the corner with headphones on, but I'm often reassured by the fact that he's chuckling away whilst doing it. It's just that obviously we waffle and shit talk and go off on so many tangents.
Yeah.
And I think last episode was like an hour and a half when we were going for like 45 minutes an hour. So we'll keep things a little bit more brief today. But just a shout out at the top for Jen and Valentina, our most recent sign-ups on Patreon. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. So, Tommy, can I read you the question that we had?
Let's hear it.
Okay. I'm already like relating in every fiber of my being, so I can't wait for you to hear this. Okay, so your question for Tommy and Hannah. The skunks at the garden party. I'm struggling so much with existential anxiety and money these days, and since I'm self-employed and business has not been going well, it's a very real fear. I had to get a loan to open my own shop and have no savings left. I try to do what I can to make it work, but it's really tough. I'm on my own, have no partner, and manage everything by myself. It hurts to admit it, but I feel like it's getting too much to keep going like this. I need professional help with various tasks, but don't have the money to pay for it. I've been thinking about hitting the brakes and going back to employment, but even though the struggle is real, it's not time for that. Both of you talk about your challenges with your businesses too, so it's not really a question I have. I'd just like to hear your thoughts and how you navigate the tough times. I truly love listening to your podcast, and it has helped me through some anxiety attacks, hearing your voices, feeling less alone, so thank you. And a big shout out to Kev for managing the behind the scenes stuff. Fire emoji. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kev. An amazing submission, amazing question, and something, again, that we really love to have the opportunity to talk at length about today.
That is such a good question, because I don't think there is a person that has started an online business that hasn't seen the change over the past few years. I mean, for me, when I started the business, it was a very steep growth very quickly. I guess like the past 3 years, it's been a steady sort of decline in terms of certainly what comes from social media. Because the name of the game has completely changed. We've gone through a bunch of recessions, a bunch of horrendous things happening in the world. People are really struggling, and you are going to start to see a knock-on effect. Also, the sort of organic growth that we used to see on social media just isn't there anymore. It's much harder to get things in front of people. And I mean, there's a couple of things to this. There's the emotional side of it. There's coping with a world on fire whilst running a small business. And then there's also the sort of more practical things. Like I've had to really diversify the way that I do business, the channels that I use. I've had to find other ways of selling aside from just online. You mentioned that you have a shop. Hannah, do you know anything about this person's business other than what they've said?
No, I don't. I don't have the background, but I thought it might be helpful because it's very easy for us. I think you are, what, 6-7 years
Yeah.
into running Tommy Vals now. I've been running Cult Mother for 6 years, I think, coming up this year. I think we should talk a little bit about where we began and how it started, because I think it's very easy sometimes for people to see like where we're at with the followings that we have and the people we collaborate with and be like, well, how do you get there? And maybe we can add a little insight. And I know obviously what we were doing then might not necessarily be what we would recommend doing now, but I do think it's helpful for us today to kind of remember as well. I talk about it all the time because it brings such a smile to my face. You sitting cross-legged, because you have an atelier now, you have a shop, right? You know something about bricks and mortar retail as well. But you were sat cross-legged on the floor of your shared apartment where the fridge didn't close and you were shoving all the bills in the drawer, right? Making collars, mouth full of pins while trying to scream Celine Dion. And you were putting things up on Facebook, and you would occasionally have people, when we were hanging out, coming and knocking on the door, and you were like, oh my God, it's that person off Facebook that I'm making this collar for. And they're handing over cash, dirty dealings on Hobrechtstrasse.
Yeah, I can remember you being there when like two goths would come over and then they drop like 100 quid and we would just couldn't believe it and would be like screaming about the fact that somebody had spent 100 quid, and now it's quite different. I've got this lovely big shop studio space in Kreuzberg. I'm just about to buy a house. Like things have gone pretty well for this brand.
Yeah.
But there have been ups and downs, and as I say, more recently there have been struggles, and I have had to think about pivoting and doing different things. For me, there's no option to work for anyone else. That's not an option. If it's not this particular brand, it'll be something else. Like what happened is when Hannah fired me, and I had to give everything to the brand. I said I'm going to give myself. I had no money. I'm going to give myself 2 months, and I'm going to really try and make this happen. And if it happens, I'm promising myself that I'm not going back to working for anyone else again. Because the fact is, I was never really very good at that. And I I'm not sure if it's an ADHD thing, I'm not sure what it is, but if something doesn't interest me on like a really strong level, I really struggle to keep focused. It's not me trying to be like I'm too cool for this job, anything like that. I just genuinely have a real problem focusing if it's not something that really brings me joy. So
Yeah,
and
that I
knowing that, I feel like any job that I would have aside from working for myself and me being the boss, I would just be underachieving at.
and I think that's a point I wanted to make as well, is because that's very, very significant for me too. And I think it's a big part of what I've been sitting with recently, having been kind of doing things in the ways that I have for kind of 5+ years. Um, I've had to be mission oriented, right? Because we have businesses and we think about businesses in terms of, what we're doing and how it is that we're going to be able to make a living. But for me, the driving force, the thing that keeps bringing you back, the way that you keep coming out swinging regardless of how tough it gets, is you have to come back and connect with the mission, the core drive that it took to kind of get it off the ground in the first place. And for me with Cult Mother, I was super aware of the fact that I was going to need to develop some spiritual awareness or spiritual practice. But a lot of the places and the spaces that I was kind of looking for that, I wasn't finding it that I was an easy fit. I was like, where's all the where's all the spiritual practice for the kind of queer neurodivergent people that don't want to wear pink leggings to yoga on a Sunday, who've pissed off to India on their gap year. you know
Yeah.
so that whole idea of, if I need this because of how much it has and is able to help me, how can I make it accessible for people who I see as also being like me? If I can't find those places or spaces, how can I create those places or spaces? And my mission with Taro has always been very, I want to teach people that this is a tool that is also accessible for them and that they can use. That was always a big part of it. And I know for you, of course, one of the things I love most about you is you just went on this mission to make people feel beautiful.
I think for me, the brand, I always had to have teenage me at the center of it. And it was
Uh,
always like, this is for that person and people like that. Because when I was younger, there wasn't you couldn't go online and shop the look. You know, like you had to make it
Mm.
yourself. I got lots of stuff from charity shops and I made lots of stuff. You know, I was hanging around with lots of very creative people. Like my best friend at the time taught me how to screen print. Like she would lie on the floor, I would draw around her and that was the dress pattern. Then we would screen print the fabric together. Um, you know, in the loft room that she had at her parents' house until they would kick us out for being too loud, drinking cider and listening to the Cramps. And it was just that time that was very creative. And I just think about, you know, young queer people now, and I can remember just how special that time was. And like, I can also remember going to Camden very young and having people dress me up and feeling like a part of. And I want to be able to give that to other young queer goth people that find themselves, you know, part of this sort of niche subculture. So he is just at the center of all of it.
Yeah, putting teenage you and that need for that kind of creativity, that connection, that joy. But for me, yeah, the why in the business and what it is that we do is absolutely important. It is really hard at the moment, though. You know, it's like as easy as it is for us to be like, well, you know, 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, we took that leap. We built these websites. We started building a following on social media. If I'm honest, I absolutely would not want to be in the position where I was starting new now or having to do it now.
No, me neither. I can remember when I first got started, I got stocked in this little shop in Berlin and I was like, oh my God, that's it, I've made it, right? And then this one influencer that was really, really big at the time went in there, bought something, tagged me, and I had like 3,000 followers overnight. That doesn't happen anymore. That kind of reach and engagement that was around when we first got started, like you could build a platform very quickly. I have seen that drop off so fast, especially for product-based businesses. So it is just not the same game. I'm so grateful that I got started when I did. But it is just harder now, especially in terms of online, and it is so oversaturated. It's just completely different.
Yeah, not to knock the wind out of your sails entirely there with your query or question, dear listener, because we've absolutely got some things that we think could be helpful or useful to you that we want to share. Because but first and foremost, I think it is acknowledging the fact that it is hard, that you know we are facing a cost of living crisis in multiple countries. In Ireland today, there's no fuel at 40% of the petrol pumps across the country because of all of this fuckery that is happening between America and Iran. You know, so it is, I think, important that we don't fall into that trap that kind of capitalism sets for us of being like, what am I doing wrong? You know, I've invested all my savings in this shop. I keep going, I keep doing it, but like it's getting harder and harder. I think one of the first and most important things is going, yes, it is. It is getting harder and harder. It is more difficult. People don't necessarily have as much available income. It's harder for us, like you said, to find the time and the energy and the creativity and the resilience when so many other areas of our lives are taking so much from us in terms of kind of focus and attention as well. So I think, yeah, just acknowledging and accepting that you are doing the absolute most, despite the fact it's probably one of the most difficult times to be doing that, is probably going to be, I hope, is going to be helpful.
Completely. I mean, for me, just when I started to notice that it was dropping off, because I had a certain amount that I was pretty consistently making every month. And then over a sort of the period of a couple of years, I noticed that that was almost at half of where it used to be. So I started to really panic and really worry and just think like, is it over for Tommy Vowels? Am I going to have to pivot? Am I going to have to do something else? But I realized that I was going to have to sort of diversify. So that was the point when I started doing wholesale. Again, I don't know anything about this person's business, but for me, I realized, okay, so all of the money isn't necessarily going to be coming through your own marketing channels. It's not all necessarily going to be coming through Instagram. So I started doing wholesale. That was one thing. And then more recently, I have started looking into paid advertising because I realized that just through the steam of Instagram alone, without paying anything, it just wasn't going to quite cut it. A lot of my other friends that have businesses were surprised that I'd gone as long as I did with just making all my money through sort of my organic reach, and I've started to look into that. I've started to look into those kind of platforms and build on that. And I have to say, these past 2 months have been the most exhausting of my business so far, because I have seen that drop off and I have had to pivot in so many ways. So I've been this month I've been working on 5 wholesale orders because I noticed that money was low. I was trying to buy a house and was like, okay, we're gonna have to make this up. Contacted all my wholesalers, and at the same time realized I had to do these sort of ad campaigns. So I've been also working on an ad campaign and doing my online orders. So if I look tired, Hannah, that's why.
Like I said, babes, you've got a home haircut and a Snorlax onesie. Like, I'm not in a position to say very much at all right now in terms of looks, right? I give up. I don't care. Utterly fucking feral at this point, and kind of feeling fine about it. I think for me as well, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got from a sex worker, because sex workers are going to give you the best business advice. If you need business advice, especially in terms of how to keep things going during tough times, this particular person taught me about the pivot that happened in the New York sex work community when the Twin Towers came down, and people really felt an impact in their capacity to earn. But the one piece of advice that has really, really stuck with me is this idea of feast and famine. When you are self-employed, when you live outside of the system or are trying to do that as much as you can, it's absolutely fucking normal to experience feast and famine. It will be good. It will be great. You will have a really good week, month, however long it may be. And you're like, I've cracked it. I've nailed it. This is it. And then all of a sudden, it tips, it drops, the money isn't coming in. And I think getting used to what is actually kind of these normal, organic, kind of cyclical, like cycles in a business, like this ebb and flow of, because I think capitalism really encourages us to, like, Kev calls it all the time, calls it number go big. Number go big. It's just number go big, number go big. We're just focusing all the time on, how can we continue growing, or how can we get it to a point and then maintain it? And in my experience, and I think in yours as well, that is just not the way it works, because there's so many other factors, there's so many other things that can be happening. And I think you and I have been very lucky to have each other as support, in the fact that you need, this would be a top piece of advice as well for anyone, right? You need those people where you can get on the phone and go, oh my God, I'm fucking terrified. I'm really worried about money. I really don't know whether this is going to happen for me. And have them there to be like, it's going to be okay. What can we do in this moment? And then the next thing, you're like, oh, like, you do it all the time. The amount of times that I've spoken to you, you've been like, that's it. It's over for me. And then I get you on the phone the next day and you're like, I had 25 orders last night.
I think what's very important when you're weighing up, like, is this gonna keep? Am I gonna be able to keep doing this? Is there still a demand for it? Because for me, what I noticed was I wasn't reaching as many people on social media. But what I was able to see is that it wasn't because people didn't want the product. It was because of the way that social media was going, right? So it used to be that if I posted a reel, that could get anywhere between 50,000 to, it could go viral, it could be seen by a million. Now, a reel can do maybe 10,000 views, which is nowhere near what it used to. But that is not because the demand has gone down, because within those 10,000, I can still see that the percentage of people that are liking and interacting is the same. So that means the demand is still very much there. I just have to diversify the way that I'm getting that product in front of those eyes.
Yeah, I think in marketing they call it vanity metrics, right? And one thing you want to be wary of is vanity metrics, and being like, oh, well, that post got this many likes or this, because it doesn't matter. If it doesn't convert and mean you can eat, then it doesn't matter. And I think obviously another thing that we learned and were taught was, compare and despair. You cannot afford to be someone doing your own thing and constantly peeping where other people are at and what they're doing who are in the same work or the same industry as you. It's very unusual for me to follow other online tarot readers. I don't need to do that to myself. I don't need to feel like there are 1,000 other people out there that are all trying to do what I'm doing. And I think it's very easy. It's like, I'm sure somebody who is like, oh, I want to read cards and I want to kind of, they might look at me with 117,000 Instagram followers and think that the secret sauce is garnering some big online following. It fucking isn't. It still comes back to how good you are at what it is that you do, and like you said, engaging with the people who are going to want that from you. Because I have 117,000 followers. My stories get an average now of about 500 to 800 views. Right? Then, of 500 to 800 people that saw it, the conversion rate off of that at like what, 0.1%? Laughing hysterically, right? So I think that the comparing, when you're in this position that this person's in, when you're sitting there going, I've got real fear that I've invested all this money, I'm worried that this now might not be a goer, I don't want to call it quits yet. The worst thing you can do is look at the people who are where you're at, doing what, like where you want to be, doing what you want to be doing, and posting all of the highlights and the good bits and the positives, but are not sharing the behind the scenes and the hand wringing and the struggles and the challenges.
That is also where the sort of collaboration element comes in, and the community, because like somebody that I could very easily be jealous of from the outside is my friend Yasmin of Blackwood Castle, because she has built this brand and she is so good at marketing. Like, it is just phenomenal what she's done with that brand. But instead of being somebody that gets jealous, this person has become one of my closest friends. We have collaborated in so many different ways. And recently, when I was freaking out about money, she was one of the people I called, and she said, Tommy, let me help you with getting these ad campaigns set up. And just having people in my industry that I am close friends with that I can call and say, do you know what? It's not looking great right now. And then be able to make suggestions, and vice versa, has been life changing for me and my business.
Yeah, 100% same. It's absolutely collabs versus competition. So in the past, it might have seemed, especially because capitalism lies, right? It seems counterintuitive to kind of link up with or work with people who are essentially in the same space or doing the same thing as you, because you're like, well, surely we're competition to one another. Absolutely not. It's a big part of how I built Cult Mother. I had the audacity to approach people that I saw being where I wanted to be. Old ways. Letitia, Cartomancy, like Jessica Dore, and I was the person being like, hey, I'd really love to connect with you. I'd love to have a conversation in my Patreon. I'd love to be able to, and I found that 9 times out of 10, people are like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Michael, Old Ways, like amazing working witch, and someone who now, as a tarot reader, when someone goes, oh, if I wanted to learn tarot or if I wanted tarot lessons, is like, talk to Cult Mother, go and have a look at Cult Mother's offerings. And I can think of numerous people that I work with who, from the outside, you might think, oh, well, you guys must be competing with each other. You guys must be vying for the same customer base. And I'm like, no, we've probably all read for the same people. Right? Because people who are booking tarot readings are booking a tarot reading with me. They may be working with my friend Aurelie, our friend Aurelie, Soulful Queen Tarot. They're staying in that kind of space that we are helping to create and then hold together. And the more you're holding that space, the bigger and more open it gets, because of the more of you that are involved, the more people that are there. The more people are paying attention. So for me, absolutely, and I know it's been so huge for you, especially with Yasmin, with Jessme, this whole idea of, room at the table for everyone. How can I revitalize my business, get a little bit of kind of go by linking up with someone who maybe finds themselves in the same position, so we can create something and offer something together?
Yeah, and I mean, on that, I can't say too much, but me and Yasaman do have something in the works. There is going to be something from Tommy Vowles and Blackwood Castle that I can't speak about too much. But
I've seen it, and I am Gagatha Christie. I am absolutely Gagatha Christie over the thing that you're not allowed to talk about, but that is an amazing, perfect example of collaboration from two creatives who maybe even a couple of years ago would have been a little bit more like, oh, what are you doing? And we've all done it. We've all done it. Tommy and I actually did coaching. We had coaching together back in the day. In our manifesty days, yeah. And a big part of that was being able to, instead of when someone gets your back up, you get a little bit of the old green-eyed monster going on because they're doing something or talking about something, being able to kind of interrogate that a little bit and be like, okay, so what is that telling me about what it is that I would really love to do or where it is that I would really love to be right now? And that was so important for me, right? I'm a Leo. I have a Leo stellium. I love to be front and center, most special, prize-winning, spotlight, right? So developing this idea of actually I don't have to elbows up, jostle my way into position. I can link arms with people, bring them fucking with me. Let's go. Like the spirit of community is just so core to Cult Mother and my business and what I do now. And I wouldn't still be going. I wouldn't still have a business if it wasn't for that collaborative kind of energy, especially creatively.
Completely. And I mean, just finding yourself in online spaces, there is so much room for that. I feel like I have this network of creative goths all over the world, some of which, like I say, Yasaman is like one of my closest friends. We've never met, and there's so many relationships that I have like that online. And that now over this sort of like 8 years that I've been doing this, there's so many people that I can just reach out to and be like, do you know what? Did you want to do something together? Can I send you some pieces? Would you model for me? Like, there's so much space for that kind of thing online. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do feel for people with small businesses right now. Just it is really tough. I've really seen it. But one thing I know, just for me, is there's no other way. I am a freelance person and I always will be now. I will find a way to make it work because I ain't ever working for anyone else again.
No, I hear you. I don't know how I could. I think you develop a certain kind of way of doing things that works for you when you run your own business. And this is something that I want to talk about for this person as well, right? Like, other people, or if we've been in regular employment before, it took me a really long time to understand that I didn't have to do a 50-hour work week. I didn't have to be working 5 days a week. Like, I was still placing the same kind of restraints on the ways that I worked and what I offered and when based on what I learned from being in kind of more traditional job roles. Whereas now it's like, if I'm feeling particularly lit up and want to sit down and maybe try and do something at 3 a.m., so be it. But importantly for this person who says, like it's tough, and especially I have no partner and I manage everything myself. We are both very fortunate that we are very supported in our home and our personal lives by people who understand the nature and the stress of what it is that we do and do a lot to kind of pick up the slack in the personal. I mean, I know Robbie's an amazing cook.
Do they mean they have no partner as in no romantic partner, or do they mean they have no partner in the business?
Well, it might be a bit of both. Like I just see like I'm on my own. I have no partner and manage everything by myself. So if you imagine, even if we're not talking business partner, just being a single person, where you have to think about washing your clothes, food shopping, cooking the fucking dinner, cleaning the bath, right? Like what other your personal life, and it's like I will say this: I would not be doing this still if I had not met Kev nearly 4 years ago. I don't think I would have made it through trying to keep this business going with everything else that's been happening in my life over the last 6 months if it wasn't for my husband.
100% same. Yesterday, Sunday, I was here for 9 hours, and then at the end of the day was like, right, I've had it. I need to go to the spa. So I took myself to the sauna for 2 hours in the evening. I came back, Robbie'd made dinner and washed all my clothes. And I was just like, if somebody wasn't helping me just like mop up the slack in other areas of my life, I wouldn't be able to keep doing this.
Yeah, 100%. So what I wanted to say, obviously, for this person who's probably going, oh yeah, great. fucking fantastic. Like, look, you're not the only person who's going to find themselves in that situation. So you having that camaraderie with other people who get it, seeing where it is that you might be able to support and help each other, and also not putting the same pressure on yourself or holding yourself to the same standards of people who do have that support and do have that help, because it's a different game. You know, I've done both, and it nearly fucking killed me. You know, it really, really is a lot. So the other thing I absolutely want to say is self-care, right? Not bullshit bath bomb self-care. If you are like, I am having existential anxiety, right? I'm getting panic attacks because I'm self-employed, business is hard, I took a loan out on this shop. That's when, in those situations where, like, I need to double down, I need to go so hard, I need to give it everything I've got every minute of every fucking day, right? But that is a false strategy, that is not sustainable, and that is when it does all just kind of accumulate and it ends up hitting the wall, right? If from personal experience, when we are most up against it is when we have to be prepared to take care of ourselves most and first, because your business will only ever be as healthy as you are.
I mean, Hannah's saying all this, and I'm just sat here like, because because it's been months now. I've just not been having days off, and I've just been smashing through all this stuff. And it's just, I feel like for me, sometimes when I get to this point, it's like if I have a day off, I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to know that I'm going to be more behind, and I'm going to be more stressed. So I'm one that is terrible at looking after myself. It had gotten better, but then I had this little dip recently where I was really worried, so I did double down. And now I'm in the midst of that.
But if you think about it, it's you're in the midst of buying a house, which is one
Yes.
of the most stressful and financially straining and difficult things that you can do, right? Neither of us love admin or paperwork, you know, and we talk about, you know, being able to pay other people to do various tasks, you know, not being at that point, having to deal with certain aspects of the business that are boring as fuck and really hard is the worst, and you've been in the midst of that for months. I don't worry about you as much at the moment, because I know that you've got light at the end of the tunnel, because it is all for this. It's for Wave Gothic Treffen. It's for this festival that's coming up for you in May, right? I know 22nd of May is on the calendar for the time that I know Tommy is going to have to go work really hard, do the fucking goth thing at like 100%, and then you absolutely are going to have to crash.
I am, because it's going to be really, really intense leading up to that point. And I'm like, I'm leading up to this point, but then when I get there, it's going to be Tommy, 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 and it's going to be like, so it's going to be, I'm going to be off the back of 2 months of extremely hard work. Then I'm going to be really overstimulated for 5 days, and then I guess I'm just going to have to book 5 days in the spa.
But this is the thing. It's this difficult false economy, right? Of being like, okay, I have to give it all this, I have to give it all this, when you actually now run the risk of throwing a fucking New Rock boot at someone in the Haller at the festival, because you're just gonna be on your last nerve and just fucking lose your shit at someone. Do you know what I mean? There's gonna be a chips or something, you know, like flung in the face of some fucking influencer.
That person that fucking tried to do a chargeback on me because they ordered something in silver and they got it in silver. Like I will tell them what's what.
Exactly, you know, so this is what I mean. It is that whole idea of budgeting ahead in terms of our energy as well, and how much we're realistically going to have to give in the day that we're in, because, you know, whether we're selling product, whether, especially if it's service based, people pick up on it. They do. If you're mega stressed out and like vibrating with all of the fucking anxious energy of someone who's ready to take a long jump off a short pier, they don't necessarily want to engage or interact.
That's very much why I think, you know, you as a small business owner, you have to really be able to see like what are my strengths, what are the things that I'm good at. You know, I've got this 2 room space here with a shop in the front. You know, that is a gold mine in the front. It's in the middle of Kreuzberg. It's stocked with my pieces. I could open that every day and probably make a killing on top of what I'm doing. I know that if I was in here having 10 belts that needed to be made every day and there were people coming in and out all day, I would lose my mind. So that's why the space is open by appointment only, because I cannot stand the idea that somebody would come in, their first impression would be a stressed out Tommy. That if I'm scheduling someone to book an appointment with me where they are going to be trying stuff on, they are getting my full attention. That is me saying, I've put aside an hour for you. I want to make you feel as special as possible. I want the pieces to fit you perfectly, and I want you to leave feeling like a million euros. Otherwise, I don't want to do it, you know?
There you go, same, right? So I had to make the absolutely grueling decision to stop doing one-to-one tarot readings. And Cole, I built my whole business, my whole thing is reading cards. I'm a tarot reader. I'm not, I say it all the time, I'm a tarot reader, not a fucking content creator, you know? And my whole thing was always sitting with someone and connecting and being able to share and relate. And like, it lit me up so much. And then I did it too much. And now I'm at the point, you know, somebody asked me yesterday, it was sweet. I taught a class yesterday, reading tarot for others, and I felt it was really important for me to share really honestly about how hard it is doing that out there right now, how the nature of that work has changed, and it can be incredibly demanding, and it's something that you have to be kind of prepared for emotionally, spiritually. And at the end, someone said, they were like, oh, do you know when you're going to be doing one-to-ones and like taking appointments again, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the before times people would have been like, oh well, I have a waiting list and you can message, and you know, and like I said, we do bullshit just to keep the facade of the business where it needs to be. And I sat there and I just went, my brother had a stage 4 cancer diagnosis in November. My husband was in the hospital this week, is potentially going to be having surgery. My dad is at home recovering from a surgery. I was like, I'll be completely honest with you. I have no idea. And the reason why I'm not able to do that or to commit to that right now is because I feel I would be doing more harm than good. I would be harming myself, and I'd also be doing you a disservice, because I know that I'm only able to bring something resembling 20 or 30% to the table right now. And unless I can give you full fat cult mother, right? Unless I can give you 100%, I don't want to do it. But then obviously you can imagine the situation I found myself in, where I was like, I read tarot for a living and I can't read tarot anymore. And I am also making the money for our household, for our home, for all the bills, for everything. So I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And this is where this whole idea of coming back to the mission, leaning into what it is that does still light you up a little bit, because obviously I've just turned more to community oriented. I'd love still just to pull a card for someone in a room where there's 30 of us, probably all crying and swearing and talking over each other. If you've been in the cult, you know what I'm talking about. But this idea of reaching this place where you know you've got nothing more to give, and feeling like the solution is to just simply apply more pressure, brought me to the point where I actually just am completely unable to do it anymore. So I think when we're at this point that this person is talking about today, really pulling up and like you said, asking, well, what is working, what isn't working, how can I reframe this, but from a place of compassion for myself in terms of what is realistic in terms of my capacity right now.
And also, I mean, you are the business owner. You're the one that sets the rules. You're the one that, makes the decisions. Like for me, I got to a point where I was having too much communication that was just overwhelming me so much. The day that I said it's no DMs, and no DMs means no DMs, and was really vocal about that, like everything changed. Because for me, like getting orders coming through Instagram DMs, but then also coming through the website and also coming from emails, I was just like, this is too much for my brain. I've got too much going on. I was getting so stressed. I was looking at my phone all the time. That made a huge difference, setting that boundary. And now if I get somebody interested DMing me about a product, I'm like, absolutely, can you email me? Because it's just, and I understand that maybe for some people on the outside that might seem a little pretentious or like, but it's absolutely not. It's just I need to be able to do it my way, and if I can't do it my way, then I might as well just be working for somebody else, you know?
Exactly. That's what I was kind of saying about, the whole, I have to do this many hours and I need to do it, that whole idea of really having to unpack and decondition ourselves first and foremost from what we were taught, what we were told, or how we've done things working for other people and other people's businesses, and actually figuring out what your rhythm looks like, figuring out the ways that you want to work. And I think for a long time, obviously, for both of us, you kind of build a business based on what it is that you believe that people want from you. um, and being able to flip that as well and be like, actually, I need to build this business based on what it is that I feel I'm realistically able to give, has been absolutely, obviously, just a huge thing for me, especially this past year.
It's gonna be so different from person to person as well. Like I've realized recently, I'm not very good at switching between tasks. So I kept setting myself up with days recently where I was like, okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of this Pinterest campaign, and then we're gonna do our taxes, and then we're gonna make 5 belts.
Mm-hmm.
That absolutely does not work for me. If it's an admin day, it's an admin day. If it's a making day, it's a making day. But also, there's gonna be people that are gonna work better dependent on the cycle of the moon. There's going to be people that are going to work better dependent on their menstrual cycle. There's so many different things, and you have to look at yourself personally. What do I need, and how can I frame the business around that? Because otherwise, as I say, you might as well be working at a call center.
Exactly, 100%. And it's weird how counterintuitive and hard that is to begin with, or when that's new. But I also, I really feel for this person in terms of, like you said, we talked about obviously it being tricky when you're the only person, because you are everything, right? You're the social media manager, you're the person actually putting the hours in, you're sourcing the products, you're dealing with the customer service, But I would say to lean into your friends. I hope that you have friends, or at least someone around who wants to see you succeed. And people quite often are more than happy to help. It's just the asking for help that can be the hardest part. And in terms of, needing professional help with various tasks but not having the money to pay for it, let's get back to trade and barter. I'm seeing this happening a lot in the tattoo industry at the moment. So the tattoo industry is one that's been hit phenomenally hard. Tattooing is expensive. It's expensive to have a space. It's expensive to have needles, inks, machines. But that means it's also expensive for people to sit and go and get tattooed for a couple of hours now. We're talking hundreds of euros, pounds, dollars. So what I've seen a lot of tattooers doing recently is, hey, I would trade tattoos for taxidermy, curios, help with my accounting or my taxes, tuning up my car or my bike, or like whatever it may be. And so I think there's going to be a lot of this more moving forward as we start crawling out from under the collapse of capitalism. And I think as business owners, a little bit of, oh, you're good at maths, you like accounting, that's actively something that's interesting to you. Interesting. I'm really shit at that. Oh, but you don't necessarily have a clue about marketing or doing designs in Canva, or maybe that's something I could help you with. Skill sharing, skill swapping, thinking I really need help with this. How can I do a shout out? Let people know that I need fucking help, but I can't pay them, or I can't pay them yet. But is there something else that I'm going to be able to offer? Is there a product that I've got that they're interested in? Is there some other capacity that I have in the business that could encourage that? And I do a lot, because I enjoy it, of sitting down with people and giving them a little bit of coaching, right? Marketing is the dark arts. It's kind of my background to begin with. And so if people are coming out of the gate, they've got that first iteration of their website up, they're starting to dip their toe into Instagram or social media or whatever it is, even physical spaces and the way that physical spaces are set up and designed, or we're displaying product or things like that's a real strong point for you. You were a VM, right? You did visual merchandising.
Yeah, I was a visual merchandiser at Zara.
Yeah, there we go. Right. And I actively really, really enjoy it. I find that it kind of lights me up. It puts the wind back in myself. So it's something that I often do, and I just don't charge for it. It's one of the things that I kind of do behind the scenes. Where and often it's because people have been like, oh, well, I can see that you're strong in this and I need some help. Can you help? And humans, we're kind of wired actually to be like, hell yeah. And to get something from our capacity to help someone in that instance. And we're going to need that energy if any of us are going to survive, continue working, running businesses, whatever the fuck it is as we move forward from here.
Completely. And I mean, whether it is trading or paying someone else, there's going to be things in the business that you hate. And for those things, just in terms of energy spend, you are going to have to outsource, because otherwise it's going to make you not want to do any of it. So for me, the one thing that I just absolutely could not stand doing is the postage. And I was finding that on a weekend, I was having to ship 50 boxes. It was completely unreasonable on my time, and it was making me hate running the business as a whole. So I actually brought in somebody that was able to just take that off me completely. Extremely lucky to have somebody that is just so capable, was able to turn around the way that I did postage, found all new boxes for me, just absolutely nailed that in a way that I would never be able to keep on top of, in addition to all the making.
But how many years was it until you got to that point?
Oh my God, way too many, way too many. But it's like I cannot. If I was doing everything I'm doing now and then doing the postage on top of that, I would have had a mental breakdown by now. So
Yeah, well, I think that's where this person is, though.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of reassure them of the fact that we have absolutely both been there, because unfortunately, I think mental breakdowns, hitting the wall, deciding that you can't possibly do this anymore, and that you have to go and get a job, is just part of the rodeo of being self-employed. Like, I was still going on LinkedIn, I think, for about the first 3 or 4 years. I was still having those times where I was like, just going to have a little look what's happening out there. And maybe I'll just get when you're self-employed, you're like, I'll just get a job. Wouldn't it be lovely just to go do the same thing every day and be told what to do and to go home and then not think about it? But we know the reality of that. It's not that. It's a lot. I don't have to make a holiday application to anyone anymore. That's why I still do it.
There's so many sort of trade-offs because it's like, I traded in working 8 hours a day for just constantly thinking about my business and it taking over my life completely. But at the same time, I wouldn't have it any other way. So, yeah, I don't have to ask anyone if I want to go on a holiday, but I'm the meanest boss I've ever had. So,
Same, same, and I think that's I the point again we want to make here for this person. I just so relate to where you are. The fear is real. I don't know whether it ever goes anywhere. It's just how we use it as fuel, and how we get creative in looking for different solutions when we encounter problems in our business to what the mainstream or capitalism or big business has maybe taught us or shown us. And absolutely, as we've said, collaboration versus competition, asking for and receiving help, doing things in the way that works for you first and foremost, because it builds the most solid foundation, but absolutely in solidarity from two frazzled, self-employed creatives who probably can't really believe still that we are where we are at now, all things considered.
It's really difficult out there, and we've not even touched yet on how hard it is running a small business just in the political landscape and with everything that's going on, and just how there is this balance between, yeah, like promoting your product, but also being able to step back sometimes and be like, do you know what? It don't feel right to post that today.
Yeah, that has been a really, really difficult thing, I think, for a lot of us, because I think a lot of people find it uncomfortable kind of talking about themselves or centering their offering or their shop, their business, whatever it may be. And that has become just so much more uncomfortable, given the fact that everybody should probably just sit down and shut the fuck up right now.
Yeah, well, you just have to think like, we're living in sort of the attention economy, right? And is this post taking away perhaps from something that people really need to be paying attention to today? Because obviously you need to pay your bills. You do need to post about your products. You do need to be excited about them online. But some days I wake up and the US has been bombing Iran. And I feel like it does not feel appropriate for me to show up with jazz hands talking about this new product today. It just doesn't.
It just doesn't. No, it's really tricky. It's like, let's face it, this week, Apple have literally removed Lebanon from the map. Have you seen that?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck is going on, lads?
Yeah, yeah.
We've obviously had the fuel protests here in Ireland, which I'm in absolute full support of. So a lot of farmers, haulers, like the buses were out and down, like it was an occupation basically of O'Connell Street in Dublin, and various cities kind of followed suit. And the Irish government really shit the bed because they sent in the guards and the military. It was pepper spray, flying in the faces of farmers being dragged out of their tractors. And we also had a real issue here, obviously, of the fact that these protests were then kind of co-opted by the far right here. Then it all gets much more complex and kind of difficult, but it's still not complex. It's still working people being prepared to take a stand, because the cost of living has got to a point where it's just not something that they are able to cope with anymore. Letting the government know that they can bring the country to a standstill anytime that they choose. And I always support that kind of action, but it's also left me a little bit heartbroken, because we could have done that 2.5 fucking years ago.
Yeah, how bad does it have to get,
It's that kind of like, if you thought Palestine was a single issue, I hope you feel really stupid right now.
Yeah. The thing is, though, unfortunately, I think a lot of those people don't feel stupid.
No, they don't. No, they still can't connect the dots that the reason that their fuel has escalated to the cost that it has is because of Israel, because of the genocide in Palestine, because of the US empire's vested interest in that, and it having escalated to the point that it has now as a conflict. But, it's really tough, I think, not to sit there and just be like, I fucking told you.
No, completely. But I feel like there are still so many people out there that are just operating without, any regard for what's going on. And, if anyone around them does say, well, have you perhaps considered it could be because of this? Then immediately you're the skunk at the garden party again.
Skunk at the garden party. We are actually thinking, listener, of just calling the whole podcast Skunks at the Garden Party. Or Skunks.
I think season 2 we launch as the Skunks at the Garden
As
Party.
the Skunks at the Garden Party. A friend of mine did an amazing illustration series of sort of like woodland animals, kind of very animals of farthing wood, but they're all punks and cross punks and have like battle vests and patches and everything. And I was like, I just know Alex Chronic Fatigue. Alex would do an amazing illustration of us as skunks, you with your brothel creepers and a leather jacket and a Cramps t-shirt, right? And absolutely, I'll be in a Snorlax onesie these days, let's face it. But and we could even have pod merch if people thought that was a cool idea. You can obviously let us know in the comments on Patreon and on YouTube. But I think the whole idea of, I know that centering myself and my business and promoting it is absolutely integral to me being able to make a living right now. But being at a bit of a loss as how to do that in the kind of bigger picture with all of the fucking horrific things that are absolutely happening at the moment is hard. But let me share this, because it might help this listener and anyone else who's kind of tuning in today. I had exactly this. I really went through it where I was like, part of not wanting to do one-to-one readings was I was like, is this exploitative?
I mean, I would just say though, I can understand why you didn't feel like you could continue offering one-to-one readings. But as somebody that has benefited so much from having you read my cards, like I will speak to Hannah about, well, I mean, me and Hannah speak all the time anyway about what's going on in our lives, but anytime there's been any sort of pivotal moment in my life, a decision I've had to make, Hannah has been able to help me so much with a reading. It is just, and I mean, I feel like there is nothing that you do not know about those cards at this point. It is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect, right? And I'm nowhere near perfect, let's fucking face it, but I am very well practiced at the moment. But I think for me, this is a really great time for me to come back to that mission and what it was about. And I think that more of the teaching and the mentoring is the space that I just naturally kind of belong in now with the experience that I have, because I would rather have, as I did this weekend, 4 people in a room with me laying and interpreting their own spreads and building their confidence in being able to do that than I would reading for all of those people one-to-one. It's kind of I've got a bit of a teach them to fish attitude at the moment, in the fact that I'd rather equip you with the capacity to connect with the deck and find that reassurance, affirmation, insight, without feeling that you need to come to me, because I you are the magic, you are the secret ingredient. It's just these cards that are going to remind you of that in the moment, I hope. So not to say that the professional card readers do not have their place. I'm still getting my cards read in order to stay fucking sane. So there are plenty of people in the trenches right now doing incredible transformative work.
I feel like maybe on a little bit more of a surface level, our missions aren't that dissimilar because, I feel like my customers are the magic, and I've had so many wonderful experiences where I've had people come to me, even just like, every now and then, just like a mum that just feels a bit like she, maybe hasn't had the time to get glammed up and go out or wear something to make her feel, special in the bedroom or something like that. And just to be able to be like, girl, I see you, you're gorgeous. Can I just help you for a minute? And then see the change in that half an hour that we spent together, and then go out feeling just, you know, like more glamorous. And that for me is something that brings me so much joy. And I know sometimes just in the climate that we find ourselves in, it can feel a little bit superficial sometimes to scream about, a product or fashion. And sometimes it is difficult being in that space. But I do have to remember sometimes those interactions. I've had trans people come to me and tell me that they feel more affirmed in their gender. Like, it's stuff like that that is the reason that I do this. But also being able to take the brand and learn as and when I can use the brand, to bring awareness to certain issues. So being able to use the platform that I have built to raise money. I mean, Hannah's been absolutely phenomenal, on this, raising tens of thousands for Palestine, which has been absolutely incredible to see. And for me, being able to then, do a run and raise money for mermaids and stuff like that, like, what's the point if we can't do that?
I actually have a great story this week on exactly that. So on Friday of last week, it was brought to my attention that one of our cult members was facing housing insecurity. So interracial trans family hit by a cancer diagnosis, and despite their very, very best efforts, facing having their house foreclosed on if they weren't able to make $6,000 by the end of this month. So on the Friday, when I saw it on the Friday night, I was like, right, I hadn't been on Instagram for a week. I was like, there's a good enough reason to go back to the gram, right? We've got an opportunity to do some good. Let's see if we can get enough momentum going to fund this GoFundMe before the end of April. It was fully funded by Saturday night.
Oh, that's so
I think
wonderful.
it's now sitting at about $6,800. I'll put the link for this GoFundMe. Every little really does help. It helps to keep the wolf from the door. But this was one of those things where even if people are not able to donate, I was like the post, save the post, comment on the post, share it to your stories, right? It really is taking that mechanism, the meta mechanism that is making us all so fucking miserable right now, and just flipping it on its head, and remembering people power. So many people were so keen to see us smash it that even if they financially weren't able to kind of support, they could see the role that they played in that other support. And it's such a small thing in the midst of everything that's going on, but there is a family who won't lose their home this month because people came together and cared enough and united behind them. And to that family, it's everything. It's the entire world.
Yeah, that's it. For them, it's a huge thing. And that is just absolutely wonderful. And that is what we should be using our platforms for.
100%. And this mutual aid is not charity, right? Mutual aid is that network of understanding that we are all connected and we need each other. And if one of us is hurting, we're all hurting. So what can we do to help? And I just think we need to start being able to apply that back to our creative practices, running businesses, right? As long as we are an island, as long as we are an individual and we feel like it is our burden to shoulder alone, it's gonna be 10 times more difficult. So I want to say to this person, I'll get in a Zoom room with you. I'll have a look at your marketing strategy. I'll have a look at your product.
And do let me know if that's a fashion business as well, please. Or an online product.
All right. So let's practice what we preach here. Obviously, the submission was completely anonymous. You are absolutely welcome to message the Patreon, Tommy and Hannah. Send me an email, hannah@cultmothertaro.com. And let's do it. Let's share the load. Let's have a little look. Let's see if there's anything we can do to help or support. Maybe I can give you a boost through my online community or Instagram, or So let us know. What are you doing for the rest of today, babes?
What do you think?
Are you working? I do worry.
I do worry. I actually wanted to read you something because last time I was saying that we had our list of things that we like.
Jessamy wrote a
And
list
Jessamy
for
wrote
you.
a list of things that I like, and then I just forgot to say it.
I wrote a note. When I was listening back last week, I was like, we did this whole, the stuff that's kind of lighting us up right now. I loved that episode. Even listening to it back, for me, lit me up. So we hope you loved it, listeners. But I remembered, I wrote a little note because you mentioned, you were like, Jessamy wrote a list for me and it's fucking hilarious. And then we didn't get to hear it. So I'm so glad you remembered.
I'm going to have to explain some of these. There's some quite ridiculous ones on here. So first is trans people and their resplendent beauty. And this is because he caught me commenting on Ethel Cain, who's a trans woman singer, diva, icon, goddess. He caught me. She posted her full frontal nudes to Instagram, and he caught me commenting resplendent beauty on one of them and just keep nailing it.
Okay, well, we have an episode title.
Trans people and their resplendent beauty. There you go. Medicinal beverages, because I have a thing. This is really weird. I have a thing about things that taste like chemicals. I really like. So I will never just buy normal paracetamol. I'll buy the dissolvable one in water because I like the taste of it.
Wow, yeah. That is weird. Yeah.
Hello, drug addict.
Yeah. Oh my god. Did that kind of make sense? Because you and I, what was that company that makes the alcohol-free spirits? We went through a phase, didn't we?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They were kind of like there's the various companies doing it. We're not getting paid by them, so we don't need to shout them out. But there is various alcohol-free, obviously, spirits that you can get now, where they are essentially kind of herbal. I've got different blends of things and mushrooms and stuff to make you feel a certain kind of way. And I think you and I were getting routinely kind of twatted.
Yeah. On lion's mane or something.
Lion's mane. I'm feeling very energized because I've had my elixir. I think the sleep one was quite good. But the idea is you have them as a measure and you have it with a mixer. But they were quite sort of, you could taste them, but you loved them. So I can see that. Okay, we love a soluble aspirin in Tommy's house.
When the girls say my Tommy belt, which is something that I do love, when they refer to them as their Tommy belt, love that.
Yeah, I've got my Tommy bag.
Yeah. Spray painting everything gold, silver screen icons, incense and things that smell good, finding a diva on Instagram, shiny pants and his rings, accepting help, i.e. stepping out of his comfort zone, and helping others, which comes naturally to me, apparently. Lovely.
Oh.
Leaving to get chips, which he means crisps.
Yeah. Leaving to get crisps is what we're going to put on your fucking tombstone. Tommy vows, I've left to get some crisps. I've left for some chips. That is such a mood. That's like my friend Mike, who always used to go and get a Snickers. There would be a point in the night, we'd be at a bar, a show, we'd be out, and Mike would be gone, and people are like, where's Mike? I'd be like, he's gone to get a Snickers. And then right on time, he'd turn up, there he was, and you and your little something, little snacky, something. And the way that a bag of chips will just appear.
This morning, when I was writing you, we're going to be 15 minutes late, it was because if I didn't go to the cafe across the street and get myself an oat milk latte and a little something, the whole day was off, Yeah.
I'm here in my Snorlax onesie because my husband has promised me an oat milk latte and a toasty once we actually get it done today. So
amazing. Granny days. A granny day is a day in bed doing absolutely nothing.
Okay, love that.
Um, Chandeliers, fringe, and tassels. Being cold because Jessamy will come to the studio to work for me, and he will be in like a coat, three jumpers, and a scarf, and I'm just there in a t-shirt.
We are the same. Do you remember we would always be like going out and it's like November in Berlin, -7, actual snow on the street, and I'd be there in hot pants and a denim jacket. You would be like shirt sleeves. We are fire signs. We both run really hot.
I can't stand being hot. It's like I'm really grateful that Robbie's the same as well. We just never have the heating on. And whenever we have anyone over, which we never have anyone over, be like, Jesus Christ, I can see my breath. And I'm like, that's how I like it. That is how I like it. I cannot stand being hot.
Like an actual tomb. I'm the same. I get very hot. I get very sweaty. If I have to go to someone's house where they've got the central heating turned up, like cranked right up, I feel like a fucking lizard in a vivarium. I want to start licking my eyeballs like it's that uncomfortable.
I hate it. A little something, pan, saying what a lot and being whimsical in general, apparently. Verbali.
Verbali. Yeah.
Which I can't believe I didn't think of. That's this big spa in Berlin that I will go to anytime I'm too stressed and overwhelmed.
Verbali is amazing. So if anyone is, obviously, if you get to go to Berlin, go to Verbali. So Verbali is a spa, but it's not a spa like a spa. It's a spa where you feel like you've actually gone to somewhere like Thailand or Bali or somewhere. It's like it completely takes you out of the like city environment, and there's multiple pools, hot tub saunas, an amazing restaurant. But obviously, it is full of naked Germans. I've had to kind of come back to a culture now when I go to the sauna of sitting there in my swimwear, and I actually kind of hate it, which is wild because it took me ages to get used to the balls, bums, and bits kind of culture of the German spa.
Yeah, in Germany, I mean, we have Freikörperkultur, which is just like being naked in public.
Free body culture, right?
Yeah, it's like there's lakes that you'll go to here where everyone's just naked, and it's really cool because there's nothing sexual about it. It's just they just like being naked. And for me, that took a really long time to get used to. And I used to go to this spa and I used to have to get really drunk to deal with it. So it was years of doing that. And now I'm completely comfortable. But at the same time, I wouldn't go with Hannah. I wouldn't go with my mates. I can only go with myself because I am still English.
We're still British. I'm still English. Out of control. I love it. Right, well, look, it's definitely time for me to get a toasty on the beach. I can only hope that us kind of talking about, our businesses, what we've done, how we've maybe tried to kind of handle it when it's tough. I think number one thing is we've had each other to talk to. Find someone who understands. Find someone who is in the same position that can be like a comrade and an ally, because normies don't get it, right? People that are like, you're trying to be a self-employed person and talk to someone who's never been self-employed about some of the struggles or the challenges. It's literally like speaking to a space alien, right? And it can make you feel really alone. So the offer is absolutely there, dear listener. If you want to reach out, if you want to get a hold of us, if there's anything that we can do to help or support, we would absolutely love to. And thanks for kicking off a conversation for us both today that we've been wanting to have. For anyone else, in a little bit of solidarity, maybe you're thinking about getting started, maybe you're also having a hard time too, perhaps you're killing it, in which case let us know, we'll have a look.
Listen, the time to get started is always now. And if you've got that thing that has just always lit you up, you've always wanted to do. I mean, I had to get sober to start my business. There was no way on hell that business was going to get started with me acting the way that I was. But if you have got that thing, like, you got one, like, well, I don't know if I necessarily agree that we've only got one life, but,
That's a conversation for another time.
That's a whole other podcast. But what I'm saying is, in this life, at least, you got to make the most of it. And if there's that thing that you don't want to die knowing that you didn't do it, then you got to give it a go.
Yeah, you got to at least give it a go. You got to give it as much of a go as you can, knowing that you did your best. And I know it's tough to know that point, and when enough is enough. I think that's also important. But I'm going to close it out by saying what Cult Mother always says, which is, quit your job, dump your boyfriend.
Oh, 100% advocate for that, yeah.
Thanks so much for listening. That was episode 9. Can you fucking believe it? Please click like, subscribe, and if you can support us on Patreon, we so appreciate it. Bye!
Bye!